Hey, lucky for you listening and hopefully watching on the Sports Waves YouTube. Uh, no real sadness, just a couple AFC East fans who didn't have to play today. We're going to get into, of course, Bryce and Iestyn's Buffalo Bills a little bit later. But yeah, just, tired people talking about football. So what's going on, fellas?
Well, I was spending most of the day on NFL Red Zone, catching every single game back and forth. And I got to tell you, it's a great way to digest everything all at once. But at the same time, it's so hard to keep track of everything. I mean, like you're sitting there and it's like, great, okay, cool. Now there's a touchdown here and there's a touchdown there, and you don't know what any of the scores are anymore. And it's all just a lot of information all at once. I love it. It's great, but I mean, if I like go make myself a cup of tea and come back, I've lost track of everything. It's like starting
Oh,
from
it just
scratch
moves
again.
so fast.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love it, and there's like no breaks, which is kind of like that's most of the appeal. But oh god, if you look away for a second, it's over for you.
All right, so a little bit of a different group, a little less people, so we're going to do things a little bit differently. Bryce, let's start with you. What was the game of the day?
Ooh, that's tough. I forgot most scores already, but
We don't need to know numbers. Everybody
yeah.
knows those.
It had to be Vikings Panthers for me. That game wound up being closer than I expected it to be.
Yeah, that was actually way better than I expected it to be.
Both offenses seemed to be clicking until then when Darnold's receivers couldn't catch a thing.
Oh god, they fell
Yeah,
apart. I mean, they spent most of the game being pretty bad, but in those last couple of drives, it was like Donald had to be a one man show. He'll throw the ball, he'll catch the ball, he'll run the ball, he'll do everything. He'll block for himself downfield. I was, I could not. I couldn't carry it. I couldn't imagine many QBs in the league carrying a team the way he had to there. And it felt, yeah, they fell short. But even though his stat line wasn't very good, I wouldn't blame him for that.
Wasn't he like 6 of 20 at some point?
Um, yeah, and he didn't get much better. I think he was 10 of 32.
Oof.
Yeah, pretty dismal having under a 30% completion percentage. But you know, like I said, the stats weren't really good. But when you hit 10 guys in the numbers and one of them catches it,
yeah.
you know,
Darnold was 17 for 41, 207 yards, and TD and a pick. So
He had like
and
50 rushing yards.
yeah, I mean,
he's a one man show. You know, the man does it all. But I mean, from years of watching Josh Allen through to Zay Jones and Kelvin Benjamin, um, and Charles Clay at tight end, I have a lot of sympathy for Donald right now. Sympathy that I didn't have when he was our rival in New York, but now he's in Carolina. It's like, yeah, man, I get it. Good luck. But yeah, he wasn't getting it done out there with empty hands all around him.
Iestyn, game of the week for you.
Game of the week for me. Okay. So I feel like Bryce took the best one. So I could say I'm gonna say Cowboys Patriots. Like that finish was unbelievable. They it just so back and forth, it was a real seesaw. Obviously the most
McCorkle just McCorkle redeemed himself off the pick six.
oh yeah, he needed to. That was it was just absurd the way that game ended. I mean, they had everything, right in the palm, right where they wanted it, just to immediately throw a pick six. And it was a bad throw, and then awful attempt at stopping him from returning that thing all the way. And then right off the bat on the next one, 75-yard touchdown straight over the guy who you just picked you off and returned it for six.
Demonte Casey had to have the laziest coverage of the day on that touchdown.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, the dude, he probably
Didn't
shouldn't
even
have.
try.
No. But hey, I mean, if you're out there, you might as well what? I don't know. Does he get paid by snap count? Because he's not going to get many snaps by the rest of the season, the way he played then.
Mac, this game was weird. Every game we wait for Belichick to take like the top off for him, and then it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
He's 15 of 21, which is great, but he also had like 220 yards, which
he had 115 yards in the third quarter.
In this game, it obviously worked. You almost beat one of the better offenses in the NFL just by doing nothing crazy on offense. But is this just because he's a rookie, or is this is what he can do at this point?
I mean, see, Jones has flashed a couple of those things that you were hoping to see from a franchise QB. He has unleashed a decent long bomb here or there. He does try and fit it into tight windows, though he doesn't quite have the same arm strength as some of the other guys in this draft class. I think he's definitely got what it takes, but it is just a matter of him being young and in need of some growth. And Bill Belichick may not have worked with a rookie quarterback as a starter in about 20 years or so, but I feel like after all his time in the NFL, the knowing how to develop a young quarterback is one of those traits. Is one of those sort of systems and schemes and traits and sets that you don't really tend to forget. So I think he's picked up on enough that he knows how to take care of the young guy as he comes up, even if it means they're boring and dull and hard to watch at times. They're at least safe enough for him to grow in. Maybe that was his intent all along when he went out and got all those free agent pickups, but I wouldn't guarantee it. I think that
I'm not sure they've. No, I was just going to say I'm not sure they've really opened up the offense enough for Mac Jones just yet.
No,
I feel like they're just waiting for him to progress a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think maybe mid to late season, depending on what their record looks like, then they'll start to swap things up a little bit. Because they'll need to start making sort of an off-season training plan and seeing what he's capable of in real action. And if they can open up the playbook and really throw the whole book at him, then maybe we'll get to see what he can do after a bit more training next season. But
Mac's weapons aren't really the best either.
No, and that's something that Belichick can work on in the off-season. But I think that they spend a lot of this year with the handbrake still on. And then, once they either eliminated from playoff contention or if they sort of decide that they're not going to be making it for much further, then they'll mess around with it a bit and see what works and what doesn't.
My game of the week wasn't the best game. It's not going to win any awards. It's just my excuse to tell everyone my Arizona Cardinals won in Cleveland. No cliff, no problem. Another win. It's okay. Me in the desert.
I was hoping that game would be better than it actually was. Arizona just ran away with that game the entire 60 minutes.
Here's the thing, though, and this may be controversial. Arizona didn't really do anything great, though. I mean, all that really happened was Cleveland had a bit of a meltdown, and then Arizona sat on it.
Their pass rush was great, in the second half.
I can definitely, I'll get on board with that. But, I mean, generally, it was just, the Browns shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again. And all Arizona had to do was be reasonable, be sensible, do the ordinary play. I mean, obviously, Kyler Murray makes things exciting. He'll bail from a clean pocket directly into pressure, or he'll, avoid incredible pressure and, take it 30 yards. But regardless of which guy happens to show up on each play, he's going to elevate this offense like a lot of quarterbacks can't in this league. His mobility is incredible, and he's clearly shown the ability to beat people with his arm. So, I'd say that they didn't really have to do anything special today, and that is credit to that pass rush. They did make the Browns' lives a nightmare all game.
Yeah.
But Arizona didn't have to strain themselves today. They just had they just got to sit back on their haunches while Cleveland tore themselves apart.
I did start the podcast off by saying, it was a good, morale, mood, whatever you want to call it. We have Jakob Lucas with us now. Hey. And I was disappointed, Jake. I didn't think we'd get to talk about the New York Giants or really, I don't know, New York, under 5 feet club. But it's good that you're here now so we can talk about it and we can really have somebody who, like, I don't know, it'll hurt to hear. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about the game? Because 11 points against the Rams isn't going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I couldn't watch it, so I had to listen to the radio broadcast. But, I mean, it didn't sound good. Tony went down in the first series, and he was like our last receiver that was doing anything. Like, Shepard's fine, but he's not a playmaker, so we didn't really have any like offensive power. I'm confused why Jones started, why Jones stayed in the game so late. Fire Jason Garrett, fire Gettleman. We aren't a good team. We haven't been a good team for a while, and I think at some point you just have to realize there's a problem with the management. We haven't had a good draft in a long time. Our pass rush is, it was pretty good, and it's just been deteriorating rapidly, especially in the past few weeks. And I just think there's a point where you need to realize that we have a problem with our like depth. We have no wide receivers outside of our starting core. We have no quarterback depth. Like our backup quarterback, like it's not a backup quarterback. Like he shouldn't be in the league still, probably. Our running backs, like we don't have depth in anywhere really. I feel like I think there's a point where you need to realize, okay, time to clean house, get a fresh start on things.
It's pretty reasonable.
I know I bring it up like every time, and it's just because it was really funny. Remember when Kyle Rudolph was an X Factor? You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of all the people to give one of them to, I never understand it.
I said it. The only thing scary about this offense is how bad it'll be. And look at that. I was right. But that's enough bragging.
This is the only reason you brought Jakob on, was to just dunk on the Vikings.
Oh yeah, I was just like waiting for him to be able to join us so we could talk about the Giants in a negative light, and somebody be here to just have to take it. I'm just shocked, it's like how bad it gets every week. They just find new ways to like disappoint their fans.
Yeah,
it's miserable.
I agree.
Yeah, I've got some sympathy for Giants fans though, because they're never really the worst. I don't think I can really recall a time where the Giants have actually been the worst team in the league, and I still don't think they are.
Yeah, but you could argue that that's like worse, just being like very bad for a really long time and never being like the worst.
Never seeing improvement over 5, 6, 7
I would
years.
rather be like Jacksonville than like a constant
Chicago
4 through 9 pick. Yeah, I would rather just be very bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jacksonville, going to London to win.
Oh my God, I know. That was just the most absurd finish as well, because they had 5 seconds left on the clock. 5. And they said to themselves, yeah, let's run another offensive play up the middle.
How did they get that timeout, though? How did they get that timeout off, though?
Oh, well, the dude who was calling timeout as he's dropping to the floor with the ball.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, eyes are on the ball, I can
good,
call it right now. Yeah. I mean, usually you don't give those guys permission to call timeouts at any point. It's either your quarterback, your Mike linebacker, or your head coach, and that's it. But yeah, they pretty much said, hey, whoever gets the ball, go down immediately, call the timeout. That's the end of it. Give yourself up so the play's over.
Why even run the play? I mean, to be honest, I don't remember. It didn't get them much, did it?
No, it got them a couple extra yards, and then they kicked the field goal.
Maybe 5, 6 yards, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, 5, 6. Okay, that's a little more of a factor. I couldn't remember. I thought it got them like maybe 2 yards.
I mean, either way, it was still a huge risk to take.
Oh,
it's like, okay, if you get down half of a second later, now you're going to overtime. You're not on the edge of field goal range with the ball trying to kick a field goal or throw a Hail Mary. You're in overtime, and you might not even have the ball again. I mean, it's a huge risk to take for a couple extra yards, even though it
with
worked
a kicker
out.
You just signed like 2-3 days ago.
It's even though it worked out, it's that kind of play calling that makes you look at Herbert and go, "Is this man an NFL head coach?" I don't think so. I mean, look at his decision making over the past since he got to Jacksonville.
The whole summer, all you heard was terrible things about Joe Judge in training camp.
It's more creative than the Giants play call. I can't tell you the last time we did a trick play and I was like, wow, we did something.
Didn't they do like a double reverse last week and Tony threw it or something?
Yeah, and that was the craziest thing we've done in the past 4 years that I can remember.
Since the playoff
which is
year,
pretty sad.
Yeah.
We have like the worst record in the league over the past 4 years.
Oh yeah, since the boat picture.
Yeah, and
went downhill after that.
Apparently, we're forever cursed by the boat picture. The New York Rangers hockey team had the 1940 Stanley Cup. The New York Giants have the boat picture.
Have the Rangers won since?
They won in '94, but it was a long time.
That's a hell of a curse, that one.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you guys have won a championship, though.
Oh, no one wants to hear from the Sabres fan right now.
Hey, we're 2-0. We're 2-0. Let us be
better than us.
Yeah, is Jack Eichel still on the team? When he's gone, then we could talk about something.
No, I mean he's still trying to get second opinions for like the sixth.
He's trying to get second opinions for like 4 years.
I know.
We got to do a hockey podcast soon.
Well, the season's just started. We'll have something to talk about. I'll
Definitely.
brush the dust off of my Maple Leafs jersey, and we can do it.
Nice.
What happened to Justin Herbert? He was like the bell of the ball, and then he only puts up 6 in Baltimore.
Okay, see, the problem is
defense was pretty oppressive. Their defense was just good today.
Lamar Jackson did not look great.
Lamar Jackson was bad. He threw 150 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks.
Yeah, he genuinely was not a quality quarterback on the day, which is crazy because he was coming off the single best quarterbacking performance of his career last week, and it's
167 yards and 2 picks he had.
That's embarrassing. I don't understand how you can be that highly sort of touted, how the hell you can be, this believed weapon who elevates any offense. And yes, they put up a ton of points, but only because their defense forced turnovers in the red zone like twice.
What might be the craziest thing about that game is Le'Veon Bell scoring a touchdown for the first time since probably Tyrod Taylor was on Buffalo.
Yeah. I think did Lev Bell score any of them with the Jets?
There was 1 or 2,
maybe.
But we don't really remember those.
Yeah, we don't think about his tenure with New York anymore. It's forbidden. I don't know what happened with Herbert though, because that Ravens secondary is typically fearsome, but they've had a lot of injuries to start the year, and they clearly lost a step. They go getting shredded by KC, which is, I know that's not a big deal. Oh no, you got passed all over by Mahomes and company, but it's pretty interesting to see that after such a huge performance last week from both the starting QBs, both of them immediately fell apart when playing the opposing defense, which are both supposed to be pretty weak against the pass right now. The Chargers were supposed to be letting Lamar throw for another 300 plus yards, and Herbert was supposed to put up 4 touchdowns in a shootout, and he put up 0 touchdowns. What do you call a shootout with no points?
It was 2 field goals, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think it's a shootout. I think that's just like you should put bullets in your gun.
It's a drive-by.
Yeah.
Chris Solly, I know you're out there. I apologize for forgetting your name last time, but we gave Lamar his respect in the Ravens.
Oh yeah, he's still incredible, and I just don't know what went wrong with him today, because he just the Ravens could have easily won this thing by 50 if they just had like a mediocre performance from their QB on the day, and he just didn't show up. Of all the days not to show up, at least it was the day when the rest of the team did overtime. But
so this is a really random question, and in all honesty, the answer is probably going to be no. Do the Ravens, a legit question though, do the Ravens win if they play Trace McSorley for Lamar Jackson today?
In this game, I think they do. That defense made this Chargers offense look like they were entirely inept. And Lamar didn't have to do much to win. In fact, at times he was detrimental to the success of his team. I don't think Trace McSorley would have been as good or as bad. I think he would have been much more medium. Yeah. All they needed was someone to snap that ball and throw it 5 yards every now and then, and they would have won this game quite handily.
Do some handoffs here and there.
Yeah, one or two, just little. Here you go, Latavius Murray. Here you go, Lev Bell. Amazing that. Imagine you told someone 4 years ago that was a starting running. Sorry, that was the guys coming off the practice squad for Baltimore's
with
running back
Devontae
group.
Freeman.
Yeah, like this running back group 4 years ago would have been the most incredible thing anyone's ever seen.
Right.
And they make a combined maybe $3 million too.
Yeah. You say, okay, here's your price tag, here are your players, do you accept it? And then if they say yes, apparently they're an idiot because it's not great. But with this Ravens offensive line, they are so dynamic. They're just putting holes in any defense. I'm pretty sure at this point I could moonwalk to the end zone behind that Ravens offensive run scheme. Like it's thing of beauty. I love watching them in action.
Their team has improved, I think, over the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really, because they got rid of what was it, Ronnie Stanley to KC in the offseason.
No, Orlando
Brown.
Thank you. That's it. But they went through a lot of change on their offensive line, and yet they've still made it work, which is just proof to their offensive coordinator, offensive line coaches coaching. I mean, they're clearly they're disciplined and they just make it happen. Obviously, they need to work on pass protection still, but when you have a running game like that, you can pretty consistently rock back into pass protection and get enough time because they have to consider the running game as a threat no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of teams who just haven't been looking like themselves, like I understand they got a win today, but like, what has Kansas City been doing? Like Patrick Mahomes did not look like Patrick Mahomes until the fourth quarter started. It's been a mess for them lately.
Yeah, and
His
it's amazing.
Ball really isn't working right now.
No,
like it has been since his rookie year.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's because hero ball is great and all when you have 10 men wide open downfield at all times able to catch it. When you've got the most dynamic tight end in the NFL, shedding blockers, catching the ball, and then plowing through 5 more for another 10 yards. And when you've got Tyreek Hill taking the top off every single defense in the NFL, and you can hit the deep bomb. I mean, Mahomes has everything he needs to succeed. The only reason he's not succeeding right now is because he's losing things like the field position battle regularly. Special teams is crucial. They have no real return game, and they have their defense keeps allowing even the worst offenses to put them in bad spots. And so even if your defense only allows 13 points on the day,
I think so.
13 points on the day.
Yeah,
you still Washington still moved the ball well. They still got down to the red zone, even if they didn't put points up. They still put Kansas City on the back foot, and Kansas City had to go the length of the field almost every single time to try and score. You're not getting the ball with 60 yards to go every time. You're getting it with 80, 90 yards to go, and it means that your offense is out there a lot, and usually that would work to your benefit long term because you tire out a defense and figure them out and start putting plays on them. And I think that's what happened in the end here when KC finally started to heat up in the fourth quarter, but they were just consistently ineffective, and Mahomes has actually had a number of bad throws that have gone for interceptions. I mean, some of them have just been deflections, but
that one where he
he
was getting sacked and he threw up a prayer.
Yeah, I mean that's what you
went 4 yards.
Yeah, that's what you would expect. That's what you would expect from a guy who got drafted between 10 and 15, and he's getting started way too early because the other guy who they wanted to sit him behind got hurt or was terrible. Like
what do you expect from Josh Rosen?
Yeah, come on, give me Josh Rosen behind that in that Kansas City offense, and let's see what happens. But no, Mahomes is obviously still one of the most incredible talents in the NFL, but he needs to settle down more than anything. I mean, he's trying to put the game in his hands in the second quarter, and he just needs to. He seems to have unlearned a lot of the lessons that he appeared to have learned over the past few years. And I think it's just a blip. He'll be back, but they'll need to fix this defense if they want to actually help out their offense.
Yeah, they did not money on the O-line defense.
Yeah, they let that defense rot. They spent too much money on the offensive line, and it isn't working out, but exactly as they intended. They're good, but they're not as good as they're not good for the money you spent. And,
I get why they made all those changes to offensive line and spent all that money after the Super Bowl loss, but you still know what you have in your defense, and it's not a lot. It's not putting up big numbers like you wanted to make it to Super Bowl year after year.
Yeah, they based a lot of their failings off of what one playoff run when none of their offensive line was working and half of it was injured. I mean, it was a couple of games. Obviously, the Cleveland game. Their offensive line.
Super Bowl.
Their offensive line worked well against one of the worst pass rushes in the league last year in Buffalo. And it hurts to say that, but that is kind of what happened last year. It's why we worked so hard against one of the worst defensive lines in the NFL last year in Buffalo. And that's what. But Buffalo went out and fixed that issue, but they also still catered to their offense, and they also still got depth in the secondary, and they addressed their issues on both sides of the ball. And Kansas City just appeared to have said, well, there was one big issue last year, and that was the offensive line, so let's throw a ton of money and draft picks at it, and hopefully it'll be fixed. And then they forgot to do anything else.
Yeah, Buffalo's the perfect example of what to do right. I mean, heading into this season, I said they're my AFC pick for the Super Bowl, and still true. I believe that even more now. They've just been performing on all cylinders, and they really just did everything that you want to do in an off season. And then, like you said, Kansas City just had an overreaction to one thing, and then let other parts of their team fall through the cracks, and it's showing.
Yeah, it's still weird to me hearing the Bills talked about in that kind of way, because I grew up in the drought. We had an 18-year playoff drought, and we were no Bills fan will ever forget it. But it's so strange having come all this way. I'm still uncomfortable. I hear that we're favorites on game day, and it doesn't sit right with me. It's like, no, come on, man. Give me a 1 p.m. kickoff and tickets that are $10 because we've been eliminated from playoff contention already. Woohoo.
I'm really glad you didn't know the acronym, Jacob. And I'm going to still say it. The DYNOTTPOTW. Jacob, for you and the others who are not aware, that is the Drop Your Nuts on the Table Player of the Week. I'm going to go first. We're going to go back across the pond. Matthew Wright from the 18, absolute belter. That's, English talk for soccer people who don't know that. 53-yarder after my last kicker's corner. I said whoever Urban Meyer trots out there at number 32, but don't worry, he won't be number 32 because Greg Joseph missed another walk-off, and Greg the leg is terrible. And, yeah. All right, whoever wants to go next.
All right, well, my drop your nuts on the table player of the week is so far, I think it might be Cooper Kupp. The man just does not stop. He's been electric. He's finally looking like the number one wide receiver, which he never really was before. He was always great, but he was kind of like a slot guy, and now he's the man for Stafford over on the Rams, and I love to see it. It makes me so happy. I still think Robert Woods should be getting touches, but I mean, a huge game from Kupp kind of let him steamroll a already heavily injured and massively downtrodden Giants team that needs a few more weeks to get back to. They need to get back to being healthy before anything, because they lost everybody last week. But Kupp.
I mean, I feel like if you asked me going into this week, I would have said, I have high expectations for Tony. Look how that turned out. Honestly, I know he didn't put up the biggest numbers, but I gotta say, Leonard Fournette, he looked good. When Tampa called on him, he looked good. 81 yards on the ground, ran in 2 touchdowns. I think he had a really good performance, and I will note, it was against Philly. They're not the best team, but just Fournette kind of had an up and down earlier season. So I think now he's kind of starting to get back into his groove, and I think he's really starting to hit his stride.
Yeah, Thursday night Lenny went off.
Bryce, you got a guy in mind?
Bryce, you muted.
Yeah, you're very much muted.
There you go.
Yeah. So mine would have to be Donovan Peoples-Jones, honestly. He had 4 for 101 and 2 touchdowns. I think that's what the Browns needed from him when they drafted him, what they wanted from him. going into the future once Odell's gone, which will probably be after this year. I think they need him to step up into this number 2 role.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really. You said that that was what they needed from him. Apparently, that what they needed from him was all of their points today. Those 2 touchdowns were all of their points. They had no other points not named Peoples-Jones. So credit to that man.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Still don't understand how you let up a Hail Mary at the end of halftime with everyone there.
Oh, yeah.
It happens.
Just shocking.
Cliff wasn't there. We don't count that. Bills Mafia, quick key to the game and a score prediction for tomorrow night.
All right.
Tonight.
Well, yeah. My key to the game is going to be obviously containing Derrick Henry. We got to last week we blitzed 0 times on Mahomes, and that was how you beat a guy who passes well like that. Play good coverage and get pressure with only 3 or 4 rushes. You do the opposite against Derrick Henry. Bring the extra man down every single time, and if he's staying and blocking or if he's rushing routes, great. Put a linebacker on him, and if he's not, blitz. You take that man down as early as possible. Get him tangled up with a bunch of bodies because one man won't stop him rushing, and just take him to ground. And what was the other half of the question?
Score
predictions.
Oh, I gotta say it's gonna be 31-17 Bills. Right.
So yeah, my key to the game has to be, containing Julio Jones and AJ Brown.
Ooh,
I know they haven't had that good of seasons so far, but Levi Wallace is not that great against big physical receivers. So we need him to kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but contain Julio Jones.
Well, like put him up on the sidelines and keep him out of action.
Yeah, try to be more physical with him.
Yeah, they'll give him a little bit of leeway because he's up against someone so big.
Right, yeah. And then my score prediction has to be 34-20 Buffalo.
No one asked me, but I'm just going to say Titans 33, Bills 6.
That way. Like I'm copying Iestyn's homework and just changing it slightly, but I'm saying 31-13 Bills.
Okay, I love the confidence, Jacob.
I don't know. I just want to say, so like if Tennessee wins, be like, oh, I said it. And then if they lose, be like, oh, of course I picked against them. And it's just a joke. You guys know that.
Yeah, the old bait.
You got your excuse for either way.
Yeah, Stephen wins this round, guys.
Yeah, like I was ready to be like, oh, Cliff wasn't there for the Cardinals. Doesn't really count, but like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, do the Cardinals really need Cliff? I mean, that seems like a Tolva Tuesday topic. YouTube. Please watch. Need this job. Apple, Spotify, if you prefer listening. Tolva Tuesday, obviously on Tuesday.